Let's continue discussing lung imbalances as part of the diagnosis according to Zang for organ patterns. Lung imbalance patterns pathology. If exogenous qi invades the body, Wei qi is the first aspect or level to be attacked. Wei qi is controlled and spread by the lung. This means that when Wei qi is disturbed in its activity and movement, lung qi is also disturbed. This can lead to the lung not descending and spreading qi as it should. Lung qi will then accumulate and eventually become rebellious in ascent upwards. This rebellious lung qi can manifest as coughing and sneezing. The lung also spreads diarrhea throughout the body. When lung qi is impaired, it can no longer spread its fluids, which will then accumulate in the lung and form thin phlegm. When lung qi becomes rebellious, this will force the thin phlegm up to the nose, resulting in an exudation of thin, clear, watery mucus as a consequence. The stagnated fluids and thin phlegm will also be driven up to the face by the rebellious lung qi and can give a slight puffiness to the face. This puffiness is often apparent in the area around the eyes. The disturbance of the lung's ability to transform and spread fluids can be so extreme that, as well as there being edema and thin, watery sputum in the lung, there can be problems with urination because the lung is not sending fluids down to the urinary bladder. If heat is present in the lung because wind heat has invaded the lung, exogenous qi has penetrated down to the qi level or heat has been transmitted to the lung from another organ. The fluids in the lung can be condensed by the heat. This will result in the fluids becoming thicker and sticky. If the heat is mild, the phlegm will be viscous and white. If the heat is more intense, the phlegm will be yellowish or greenish. The heat can be so intense that it causes vessels in the lung to rupture. If this is the case, there will be blood in the sputum. Excess heat will also cause upward movement of the rebellious qi to be more powerful. This will mean that cough will be louder and barking. Heat can ascend to the nose, throat, and eyes and cause this to become red and irritated. When there are invasions of exogenous Wei qi will be blocked as described above. When qi stagnates, pain arises. In this situation, there will be aches and stiffness in the muscles and joints. Because Wei qi circulates in the Taiyang aspect and because wind tends to invade the upper parts of the body, the soreness and stiffness will be most pronounced in the neck and shoulders where the Taiyang channels traverse. The blockage of qi in the Taiyang channels can also result in there being a headache. As well as protecting the body against invasions of exogenous qi, Wei qi warms the skin. If Wei qi is blocked, especially by exogenous cold, Wei qi will not be able to warm the skin, even though there is sufficient heat in the body itself. This will manifest with the characteristic symptoms of a person freezing and not being able to get warm, even though they pack themselves into clothes and under blankets. This is in contrast to yang qi deficiency, where the person cannot generate enough warmth in the body and is very sensitive to the cold, but if they put on sufficient warm clothing, they will not feel cold. The inability to warm the skin when there are invasions of exogenous qi will manifest with a pronounced aversion to cold. This is most marked when there is wind cold and less so when there are invasions of wind heat. When Wei qi is weak, as typically the case when a person is lung qi deficient, the person will be vulnerable to invasions of exogenous qi and wind. This will mean that they have an aversion to drafts in particular and to cold in general. They will also suffer from frequent colds and other respiratory disorders. The lung controls the pores in the skin by its relationship to Wei Qi. The Wei Qi is blocked by exogenous cold. It will not be able to open the pores, and it is actually through the pores that Wei Qi should expel the exogenous Qi. This means that one of the key symptoms of invasion of wind cold is that the person does not sweat. Conversely, if there is lung qi deficiency, Wei qi is thereby weak. The pores in the skin will not be controlled, and the person will sweat spontaneously or on light exertion. Invasions of exogenous qi takes place in the exterior aspect of the body. This is reflected in the pulse, which will be superficial. As an invasion of exogenous qi is an acute condition, they will not normally be major changes in the tongue presentation. The lung is very sensitive to dryness. This can be exogenous dryness or dryness that arises when there is yin deficiency. Dryness arises when there is yin deficiency because yin is an aspect of yin. If the lung becomes desiccated, its stream mechanism will become disrupted and lung qi will become rebellious. This will manifest with a dry, ticklish cough with no sputum or only small amounts of thick, rubbery sputum that is difficult to expectorate. When there is yin deficiency conditions, the cough will also be weak due to lack of qi. In this situation, the cough will be worse in the evening and at night, or when the person speaks. Dryness will also be seen in the fact that skin can be dry. The voice will often be hoarse and the throat will feel dry. Excess heat coughs are explosive and loud. This is because there is an accumulation of qi in the lung and because heat has an ascending nature. This means that there is more powerful and more dynamic ascending movement of rebellious qi in the lung. At the same time, heat condenses yin in the lung, so it turns into phlegm. This will manifest as sputum that is usually thick, yellow or green, but it can also be white, thick, and viscous. The cough will usually be worse in the morning because phlegm will have accumulated and stagnated in the lung during the night. The phlegm will often be difficult to expectorate because the sputum is so thick and sticky, even though it is copious. A smoker's cough is a typical example of this type of cough. Both deficiency and excess heat can agitate blood so much that the vessels in the lung rupture, which produces bloody sputum. Damp phlegm or phlegm cold will also disrupt the qi mechanism in the lung and results in a cough. The sputum here will be thinner and more fluid. This type of sputum will be easy to expectorate. If the lung is blocked by phlegm fluids, which is a very watery form of phlegm, there will be very thin, watery sputum that is easily expectorated. There will also be wheezing. The sputum will be so thin that the person will find it difficult to lie flat on their back, as they will quickly feel suffocated. They will also vomit thin, frothy mucus when they cough. If the lung is too weak to send qi downwards, qi will eventually become rebellious and rise upwards. This will manifest with a weak cough because the deficiency of qi will mean that there is not much force behind it. The lung descends and spreads qi. If this qi mechanism is disrupted, the person will be breathless or they will have superficial, shallow respiration. They can also have a stuffy, distended, or oppressed sensation in the chest. There will, however, be differences in how and when these symptoms are experienced, depending upon whether it is a deficiency or excess condition. When there are deficiency conditions, The lung will lack the strength to be able to descend and spread qi. This will mean that the person quickly becomes breathless, even on light exertion. When there is lung qi or phlegm stagnation, they will also be breathless, but it will feel as there is something that is blocking their breathing. When qi stagnates in the chest, it can be hard to inhale fully, and it will feel as if there is a strap or an elastic band around the chest, making it difficult for them to inhale deeply. When there is phlegm stagnation, it will feel as if there is a heavy weight like a rock that is lying on top of the chest. They will therefore find it difficult to inhale deeply and get enough air into the chest. The voice is created by Zang qi, and is thereby affected by the state of the lung. If there is lung qi deficiency, the person's voice will be weak, and they will often be disinclined to talk. This is not the same as when there is heart qi deficiency. When there is heart qi deficiency, their taciturnity is due to shyness rather than talking requiring an effort. Lung yin deficiency can cause the voice to be low or weak. The voice will also sound dry or hoarse when there is lung yin deficiency. When there is phlegm heat, the voice can be loud, but also gravelly or hoarse. Because the lung is fundamentally involved in the production of qi. A key symptom of lung qi deficiency is fatigue. There can also be a pale face because of the weakness of qi will result in less blood circulating in the skin of the face. When there are cold conditions, the face will be brighter white that is almost shiny rather than just lacking color as it does when there is lung qi deficiency. When there are heat conditions, the face can be red, either only on the cheekbones as seen when there is lung deficiency, or the entire face can be red and ruddy when there are excess heat conditions. Heat will also make the person thirsty because it consumes and endures fluids. There is a close relationship between the lung and its partner organ, the large intestine. This is seen in the process of defecation. The large intestine is dependent on the lungs sending stool out of the body. If there is lung qi deficiency, the person will have difficulty defecating. They will feel exhausted and they will often sweat afterwards. They will often feel that the defecation was incomplete. The lung resonates with the emotions of sorrow and melancholy. These emotions will affect the lung qi. At the same time, if the lung is qi deficient, the person can also experience an underlying or pervasive sense of sorrow and melancholy. The general symptoms and signs of lung imbalance are as follows: cough, runny or blocked nose, shortness of breath, sweating disturbances, fatigue, and chest oppression. Thank you for your attention.